Okay, so to construct this where, we need a for each loop. So we saw an example of a for each loop back in index.php when we loop through each error. So if you didn't understand the purpose of that, you will understand why we do this when I write it out here. So I'm going to say for each keywords as, and I'm going to make it look a bit different this time. I'm going to say key, and then I'm going to say an equals and then a greater than sign, key, and then we're going to call each keyword keyword. So notice the difference between keywords as key, keyword. And what we're essentially doing there is getting the key from the database, which would be 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. And keyword would be that keyword associated with that key. So I guess if you like, this means associated with this. So we're now returning the key and the keyword. And we can use key to see if it matches total keywords, in which case we don't need to add an extra and onto the end of our query. So you'll understand this a bit better on when we go through it. So I'm going to say where dot equals. Now this means append onto where. Because we're in a loop, this is going to constantly append to a string. Okay, and this is going to be keywords like, and then we need to specify, like we showed earlier, and what do we put in here? We put keyword. Okay, so the keyword is now being put into here as I demonstrated earlier, and we're searching the keywords field. Now you'll notice that I've put some percentage signs, and what this means is if I was to just put that, for example, this means return the result depending on where the keyword is. Well, okay, let me re-explain. We're essentially searching keywords for this keyword, okay, which might be Flash or might be Pro. In this case it's keyword because we're taking it from the array. This would search from the left hand side, this would search from the right hand side, and this would search from both sides. Okay, so have a look at the like part of SQL statements on the MySQL, the PHP website, or wherever you might find the resource, and make sure you understand this, because you need to know that this searches from both sides and matches results. Okay, so now what we want to do is come down, and we actually want to create a check, and we want to say if key doesn't equal the total keywords, and this needs to be taking 1 off of the total keywords. And the reason for this is that we obviously in arrays we use 0, we start from 0. However, if we were to type Flash in, for example, the total keywords would be 1, but Flash would be in key 0, so we need to take 1 off of this value in order for it to match. So hopefully that makes sense to you. And if the key doesn't equal, we're going to say where dot equals 2 spaces, and in the middle of that and. Okay, so this essentially adds and in where we're not at the end of our query. Okay, so if you don't understand this, we're now going to echo out where. Okay, so you can see how it's formed. Okay, so you can see what this code actually does. So let's go ahead and type in Flash. Flash search keywords like, and then we've got Flash in there, so we've taken the first keyword and put it in there. However, what happens if we're searching for Flash Pro? We're obviously going to lengthen this, like the demonstration I gave you earlier. If I click search, you can now see it says keywords like Flash and keywords like Pro. So just from this, we've dynamically constructed a part of our query. Okay, so we want to obviously put this where clause into a query itself. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to create a new SQL query, and I'm going to create a string called results, and this is going to be select title description URL from articles. So we're selecting these 3 fields from the table called articles, which is, if we go over to our database, articles, so we're selecting from there, and then we're going to say where normally you'd say something equals something, we're actually going to be substituting in our where. Okay, so now what we can do is we can come down and echo out results, and whenever we type in something in here like Flash Pro, we actually get an SQL statement which we can, or an SQL query which we can echo out, run using the MySQL query function, and we can return a list of results. So we're dynamically creating a query. Okay, so it's simple as that. The other thing we need to bear in mind is that the description, remember, I had at a certain length and it was shortened. So we need to do something a bit different when we're selecting description in this case. So I'm going to be using the left function in MySQL, and I'm going to be selecting description, comma, let's go for 70 as description. Okay, so what we're doing is we're using the function left to return from the start of description 70 characters onwards. So it'll only select the first 70 characters of description, and that's as description. Okay, this part here is really important, as this left function doesn't actually return the result. We, as a name, we need to say return as description. Okay, so that won't affect our query, the running of it. However, what it'll only do is select the first 70 characters of description. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to calculate how many results we've returned. So results num equals. So we're creating a new SQL query, and we're going to be creating a essentially an if statement, but it's not. It's a shortened version of an if statement. So in brackets is our condition. We then have a question mark for the first if something equals something, so if this condition is true, and then we have a comma for values in here. So if this doesn't make sense, it will all pull together in a minute and you'll understand the workings and structure of this if you haven't already come across of it. So we're going to say for the condition results equals MySQL query results. So we're actually setting a variable inside of a condition, which you can do with PHP. So we're creating a new variable called results, which is the result of a MySQL query and this string here. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to delete that. So we're querying, we're essentially running a query of this. Okay.